The book of Esther begins with King Xerxes getting upset with his queen and sending her away. He was so mad that he decided to choose a completely new queen. So King Xerxes had all of the young women in his kingdom brought to the palace for a contest to find the next queen. One of those young women was Esther. Esther was a Jew, one of God's people. She was very beautiful. When she went to the king, he chose her to be his new queen. Esther didn't tell anyone that she was a Jew. How amazing! One of God's very own people was a queen in Persia. One of the men who worked for the king was named Haman. Haman was a bad man, and he didn't like God's people at all. Haman didn't like Esther's cousin Mordecai, because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him. Haman found out Mordecai was a Jew, and so he decided to do something very cruel. Haman wanted to kill all of God's people. He went to the king and said that they should destroy all of the Jews because the Jews kept themselves separate. Foolishly, the king said yes to this idea. He signed a law that on a certain day, all of the Jews were to be killed. Things didn't look good for God's people, but we know that God is in control even when the situation seems bad. When Mordecai heard about the plan to kill all of the Jews, he made sure that his cousin, Queen Esther, knew about it. He told her that she should go to the king and ask him to stop this evil plan, but Esther was afraid. Anyone who went to the king without being called could be killed. Esther would be risking her life to go to the king, but Mordecai trusted that God is in control. Mordecai knew that Esther was in this powerful position for a reason. Esther asked Mordecai to have all the Jews pray and fast for her for 3 days. Then she would go before the king. On the third day, Esther put on her royal clothing and went to the king's palace. She went before the king. When the king saw Esther, he was so happy. He didn't want to have her killed. Instead, he called her to come to him and ask for whatever she needed. So Esther invited the king and Haman to a big banquet. For 2 days, the king and Haman went to dinner with Queen Esther. Finally, the king asked her what she wanted. She asked the king to save her life and the life of her people. She said that someone had planned to have her and all of her people killed. The king demanded to know who it was. The king was so angry that Haman had planned such an evil thing. Because Esther trusted that God is in control, the king could now change what was going to happen to the Jewish people. So the king issued a new decree saying that the Jewish people could fight back against anyone who was trying to hurt them. Haman's plan had failed. The Jewish people still celebrate this holiday today. It's a great time to remember that God is always in control, and that He worked in the big God story to protect His people. Our God is in control, and we can always trust Him.